So hello and welcome. This is Intermediate Accounting 17th edition video solution walkthrough for Kiso, Weingart, and Warfield exercise 6-12. This is the textbook that is by the 17th edition of the textbook that is by Don Kiso, Jerry Weingart, and Terry Warfield. The question used in the presentation is copyright 2019 by John Wiley and Sons. All rights reserved. This is for educational purposes only. The video may not be distributed or redistributed without the express permission of Wiley. The solution presentation is copyright 2019 to 2022. It's actually then we're in the new year by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. The opinions contained within this presentation are those of Bennett Tchaikovsky and not the authors or of the textbook or of Wiley. Okay, so we've got over here, this is exercise 6-12. We're dealing with present value. So analysis of alternatives. Again, this is very similar to what we're looking at in terms of managerial accounting. This is something that's covered in the net present value computations of analysis of various alternatives. So let's go ahead and do it. The Black Knights Inc., a manufacturer of low sugar, low sodium, low cholesterol TV dinners, would like to increase its market share in the Sun Belt. In order to do so, Black Knights has decided to locate a new factory in the Panama City area. Black Knights will either buy or lease a site depending on which is more advantageous. The site location committee has narrowed down the available sites to the following three very similar buildings that will meet their needs. So before we even go through and do this, when you're going to be looking at going into an area, you really have to go through and do your diligence. You have to look at local laws and ordinances. If you're going to be manufacturing in our golden state of California, you really need to understand how you're going to be regulated. And again, that's a part of a kind of a qualitative factor that goes into this part over here. Okay, so building A, purchase for a cash price of $600,000, useful life is going to be 25 years. Okay, building B, lease for 25 years with an annual lease payments of $69,000 being made at the beginning of the year. Okay, letter C, purchase for $650,000 cash. The building is larger than needed. However, the excess space can be sublet for 25 years and a net annual rental of $7,000. Rental payments will be received at the end of each year. Black Knights has no aversion to being a landlord. In which building would you recommend the Black Knights locate, assuming a 12% cost of funds? Okay, so that's also something that's going to be important for us too. So the reason why is when we're looking at future payments going through, that we're going to be having the 12% is basically going to be what the cost is of that cash. Okay, so if we buy it outright for cash, right, this cost to us, or the value of this to, or the cost of this to us is $600,000 today. And let's just kind of talk a little bit about why that might be advantageous. Okay, under the new accounting pronouncements, if you lease something, you have to record it on your books. So you're going to learn about that later in leases, but if you have a lease for whatever period of time, then that's going to be something you have to kind of consider. The other thing to consider as well with building A is that you actually own it, okay? So building A and building C, you actually own them, so there could be a residual value that's 25 years away. So kind of thought, okay, so building B, okay, so we're not paying $600,000 right now. What we're going through and doing is we're actually making payments of $69,000 per year for the next 25 years. Okay, so with annuity being made at the beginning of each year. So this is written a little bit tricky. So this would probably be year 0 is going to be 69 grand. And then years 1 through 24 is also going to be the same amount. So why that's a little, thank you, Kiso, for making that a little bit tricky, right? So if the 69,000 was being paid at the end of the year, then I would say this is years 1 through 25. But the reason why I'm doing this is when I go to the present value of an annuity of $1, which I don't even have the table for, that's going to be something that's going to kind of come into play. So again, something is to think about. All right. So right over here, when I look at years 1 through 24, I come over here to my present value of an ordinary annuity of $1. Why am I going to this table? The annuity is for a payment that we're making every single year, year after year. That's when we use the annuity. So I have to bring these future payments back into today's dollars. So let's go over here. We're going to have present value of an ordinary annuity. This is going to be 24 periods at 12%. Okay. So I've got a little bit of an issue because my present value table isn't special enough, right? So right over here, I've got 25, but I don't have 24. So just give me a moment and I'm going to figure that one out. Or if you want to join me on this journey. So we got present value of an ordinary annuity table. Okay. Let's go to images and let's find this out. If I come over here, let's take a look. Do I get 20? Yay, I got 24. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to look for 24 and I'm at 12%. So this is going to be 7.78432. So 7.78432. Okay, so right over here. And when I multiply this through, I get 537,118. When I add in the 69,000, the actual outflow of the lease is going to be roughly 606,118. So this is slightly higher than just going outright and purchasing the building. But if I lease the building, there may be some other advantages. I might, obviously, it's going to go on my financial statements, but I may not have to pay like maintenance and other kinds of costs. There's different types of leases. There's something called a triple net lease, and there's also something called full service gross. So again, as you're embarking on your career, you're going to learn more about these terms. But as we look at this here, so if I'm leasing with an annual lease payments of 69,000 being made at the beginning of the year, right over here, I'm going to have to pay 69 grand, and then years 1 through 24, I'm going to be paying 69,000 at the beginning of each year. The 69,000 a year from now is not the same as the amount of money today, so I have to discount them. I use the present value of an ordinary annuity table, 24 periods at 12%. That value here is 537. I add this to the payment that I'm making today, and right over here, I get 606,118. Okay, building C. We now have an outflow of 650,000. Now, this may not seem to be the best situation. However, we are going to be, I can rent the excess space at a net annual rental of 7,000. Rental payments will be received at the end of each year. Okay, so this is going to be years 1 through 25, and this is going to be 7,000. So what I'm going to do here, this is going to be the present value of an ordinary annuity of $1. And this is going to be 25 periods at 12%. So I can actually now use my table over here. So this is going to be 25 periods at 12%, or 7.84314. So the value of these future payments to me in today's dollars is going to be 54,901.98. So this is going to counteract, right? If I'm looking at the actual amount of dollars I'm going to be going out and spending, this is how this is going to be over here. The actual cost to me is going to be $595.98. So again, when I'm just looking at it in terms of dollars, they're all pretty close, but building C may be the best alternative if I can outlay this 650 without too much of an issue. So again, something to think about. Also, again, remember the qualitative factors. If I have tenants, I'm going to have to take care of those tenants, so that can always be a good time. So I'm just going to check my work. What's interesting is that the solution, I'm just going to show you this because we're actually getting the same results. We're just getting them a little bit differently. So right over here, again, this solution belongs to Wiley, but I want to just show this to you right over here, that what they use is an annuity-due instead of an ordinary annuity, 25 periods at 12%. So I think that includes that first payment. So they got 606,118. If I change this over here and I'm just looking at this, going back over here, we're getting the same number. I just did it a little bit differently because, again, I'm assuming that annuity-due table, I don't really use it, but you had like that if you're making, I guess, a payment in the very first period, then that's how you're going to get this. But we kind of got the same answer going through and using our regular table. And then we got the same answers for building A and building C. But remember, numbers aren't everything. When you're going through and doing an analysis, you have to figure on the qualitative parts as well. So please remember that before you go through and you embark on a building purchase. So it's really kind of important to think about. You will make mistakes. You're going to learn from those mistakes, and that's how you learn. So again, I want to thank Wiley for allowing me to use their materials. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.